everyone, and welcome to another IG Live. Today I have the pleasure of talking to a very dear friend of Read Your World. We're going to be talking to author and artist Federico Erebia. Some of you may remember an IG Live I did with him, I think almost 2 years ago, about a year and a half, and where we talked about his own work. Today we have him on for a different purpose. He's going to be talking to us about the PADIBA Awards. Many of you may be familiar with those. Those are the Pedro and Daniel Intersectionality Book Awards, something that he and his husband started and has really taken off. It's wonderful because they honor, books that have intersectional protagonists. So we're going to dig into exactly what that is and how people can submit their books for awards, for consideration for the awards, because the submission period has opened. So we want to make sure everybody knows about it and knows what the awards are for. You enjoy these IG Lives, remember we do them every week, usually on Thursdays at 2 o'clock Eastern. So watch for those announcements. We've got some great ones lined up for you. Hello.
Hello. I have not done this in quite some time, so I was wondering what. I'm glad it's working.
Yes, it worked perfectly. And it has been a while. I was thinking, I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was January of last year, but I'm not sure of that.
I think it was probably the year before. My book came out in 2023, so it was probably 2024.
Wow, I didn't realize it had been that long. Well, I'm glad we got you back on to talk about this. And as I mentioned, people should go back and watch that interview because that's specifically about your book. But today we have you on to talk about something else. So maybe you could start off, introduce yourself, and tell us all about the PADIBA Awards. Am I saying that? That's how I say it in my head, is PADIBA when I see the acronym.
You know, that's probably right. It's an acronym, so I don't think there's right or wrong. I've never said it out loud, so I think that's perfectly fine. I am Federico Erebia. I am the author of Pedro and Daniel, and I'm also on the board of Read Your World. I'm on the steering committee of the SCWI Impact and Legacy Fund. So I have two completely different programs that I created for each of those committees. And so today, because we're here for Read Your World, I'll be talking about the Pedro and Daniel Intersectionality Book Awards, which are book prizes that honor traditionally published books that feature intersectional main characters. And for us, intersectional means that the protagonist identifies with two or more historically underrepresented or marginalized identities. And that could include their race, ethnicity, skin tone, their tribal affiliation, nationality, language, culture, physical ability, physical appearance, neurodivergence, gender identity, sexual identity, religion, socioeconomics, and family structure. And this year, we are increasing from 2 awards to 4 awards. So there will be an award for a picture book, a graphic novel, a middle grade novel, and a young adult.
That's amazing. It's so wonderful. And I have to say how much I enjoy every year when I see the submission, because of course there's the prize, which we're going to talk about in a second, but also just whoever gets submitted, you do such a wonderful job of helping promote the books themselves and get the word out about it. But of course there is a prize. So what is the prize that people can win?
Yes, so my husband and I fund a total of $3,000 for these awards. So each of the books will get $750, and that will be distributed evenly with the book creators who are listed on the cover of the books. So if there's an illustrator or a translator, all of them will receive part of the prize. And so we'd be more than happy to increase the amount of the prize. So if anyone listening is interested in helping increase the prize, they can reach out to me. I'd love to be able to give a larger prize, and I'd love to be able to give prizes also to the finalists.
Yes, that would be wonderful. And then we talked about the Pedro and Daniel Intersectionality Book Awards. Where does the name for that come from?
Well, so originally we wanted to honor my brother, Daniel, who is obviously, there's my book right there, who is one of the characters of my book. But then we realized, my husband and I talked about it for a while, we realized that both of the characters, Pedro and Daniel, are intersectionally identical. They're both gay, they're both neurodivergent, they're both Latino, Mexican American, and they both suffer from the same societal problems of prejudice and discrimination. So, they're basically on paper the same, but each of them are very, very different. Their stories are very different, their personalities, and, their trajectory in life are very different. And this, I think, is one of the things that I really want to highlight with these awards, is to really explain to people why we need such a variety of books, including if the character sounds the same as a previous book that you might have read, the stories are going to be completely different. Each author will bring a different flavor to their storytelling. And in addition, each author themselves can tell a story about a character in different ways, such as, like Pedro and Daniel, two completely different stories, but, again, looks the same in terms of their intersectionality. So, one of the things that I tried to explain to people in publishing is that, I don't believe in the concept of one and done. I already have one of those on my bookshelf, or I already have one of those in our, we have those in our catalog. You can have so many more books that tell similar stories that are completely different when it really comes to storytelling.
Well, that leads right to my next question, why did you decide to create these awards?
Well, so first and foremost, I am a reader. I've been a reader for many, many decades. And, I've only been writing, literally writing with regard to wanting to get published for the last, that's only been 6 years, 6 years. And I've always been looking for great books. I mean, since my first book as a kid, I have been fascinated with storytelling and with how books come out, like everything from the storytelling, the illustrations, the translations, if that is involved, even just the finished product of the book. This is the book that won the award for novel last year. Just holding it, the way they decided to, the colors, the graphic designing, all of it is just so fascinating to me. And as I was doing both reading and writing, I was realizing that there are so many books that I don't hear about until maybe sometimes years later. And that's, there's a whole reason about, how books are published or marketed and such. That isn't really necessarily part of what this discussion is about. I am trying to find books that I can promote actively on social media to hopefully get the word out about these incredible books that are available constantly. I mean, there are, at this point, if you look at my social media, my Instagram for the last, I think, week, I've posted about over 200 books that are coming out just in this year that I believe qualify for the Pedro and Daniel Intersectionality Book Awards. And most of those I would not have heard about if I were not actively looking for these books. And so I'm trying to, in some ways, help readers out there discover these incredible books by promoting them as much as I can.
Yes, which I think is one, if anybody is, because I think there are many of us that would like to read more of these books, you just have such a wonderful resource of books that you've promoted, or you can go to the website that has the full list. You can see all of them right there. It's such a wonderful collection. But so that's a really difficult job. You have all of these books that are submitted for consideration. How do you come up with the winners and the finalists each year?
So I have been lucky in having a core of readers on the judging committee who will read every one of the books that are submitted. We've actually we started reading some of these books in February, March, because I can tell ahead of time, based on starred reviews or blog posts by various people that I follow about books that are coming later in the year. So, you know, by the time we open for submissions on July 1st, I've already read, I think I've read 30 novels and maybe 80 picture books that I think are going to probably be submitted for these awards. So it's something that is a little bit more than just, you know, July to, you know, when the announcements comes out. But it does mean that the judges have to commit to reading all of these books. There are certain things that we look at in terms of the quality of the writing, the illustrations, and even just, you know, just the whole book design. And then we come together and decide which books will be on the long list and on the commended books list. That will be announced on January 11th of next year. And then in the next, after the long list is announced, we will have some celebrity bookstagrammers join our committee, and together we will decide which books will be the winners and the finalists from the long list.
How many books would you say you get? I know it varies, but just on average, how many books do you get submitted each year?
We've gotten about 120 books submitted. And, you know, that's primarily from my going out there looking for books and asking people to submit. So I do believe by now, this is our third year. And I do know that publicists and publishers, as well as book creators, are aware of the award and will be more likely to submit anyway. But I will still actively go out searching for people or asking people, please submit, please submit, please submit. So I do think that we will be closer, or at least over 150, maybe even closer to 200, because it's just, you know, there are so many great books. We started getting submissions on the first day.
Wow. And that's such a commitment that you read. I mean, people should know you take this very seriously. You read every book that's submitted. How many are on the long list and the commended list?
So those have varied. So the first year there were, let me make sure I get this right. I think the first year there were 12 and 12. 12 on the long list and 12 on the commended books list. But on the second year, last year, we had so many great books that we expanded it. And so I believe there were 16 on the commended books list. But that's also one of the reasons why we decided to split them into 4 categories now. And that will allow us to really feature more books on the long list and the commended books list. Because the quality of the books are really just so incredible, and they all deserve their, you know, their time and sun. Is there enough light? I mean, it looks like.
Sure.
Am I in a shade? It looks like I'm in a shadow.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
How many? I mean, where can people go if they want to see the ones that have won in the past, or the long list, the commended list? Where can they go find those?
Yes, so Read Your World, again, that's the organization that you and I are part of, and that
hosts the award.
Hosts the award, yes. And so the website is readyourworld.org. If you do /awards, or there's a tab above that says awards, you click on that. You can see all of the awards that have occurred in 2025, 26, and this will be the 2027 awards. Also, we have a, when you go to the website on Read Your World, there is a shop that we have for all of the books on bookshop.org. Bookshop is terrific for many reasons, but one of the things that I love about it is that all the books are always on discount. And so you can go and look at all the books that have been previously commended in any way, and you can look at them kind of together and decided to buy as many books as you want at a discounted price on bookshop.org. So I really, really hope that people will go in and discover new books to read and to share. So much of what I love about reading, and this has been since I was a kid, is to tell people about books, to recommend books to people. And, I'm hoping that that's part of what really comes out of this, is that people will discover books that they would not have otherwise heard about if it were not for this type of an award, where so much of it is about promoting the books. And initially it'll be about each of the book creators will submit information about the awards, and I'll use that information in my posting. Later on, I'll start adding information from the judges about what the judges thought about the books. So there's a lot of posting for each of the books that will be commended and boosted through all of these posts.
I mean, this really is a labor of love for you, isn't it? Because it's so much time and you really give so much special attention, I think, to each of the books. Because not only one, they'll be listed on the website as a great resource people can go to. Plus, the books are available on bookshop.org, where people can find them all together. As you say, discover new books, discover these wonderful authors maybe they haven't heard of. But the social media promotion that you do that's a lot of work. This really must mean a lot to you.
Yes, absolutely. It is a lot of work. I will admit that. It's not that I necessarily am, drowning in free time, but this is such an important part of what, I think is important as a member of the writing community. But also just, like I said, as being an avid reader who loves to talk about books. So it's a great platform for me to talk about books that I think I've always wanted to be able to do that. And so I created a vehicle to be able to do that and to, really have the book creators involved in the process as well. I think it's very clear from the reactions of these authors and illustrators how much they appreciate the attention that they're getting. And that's part of what fuels me.
And, as you said, you've gotten to read so many of these really wonderful books. Have you noticed any trends? Like, what gets you excited about the books that you've seen come out? Something that surprised you, or just what gets you excited about what's coming out today?
Oh, gosh. That is a difficult question because I think part of what I love about these books is that most of the time, you read the review or you read the pitch, and you really don't have a sense of what the book's about until you start reading it. And the number of times that I have fallen in love with the book have been pleasantly surprised because what I had read about them didn't really convey how great the books were. Right. And that happens all the time. And I'm more and more fascinated by the types of genres that that I didn't really realize as much, how much I enjoyed reading, like horror. I really, when it's done well, and there are so many books that I've read just in the last couple of months that are done so well, it's just really fascinating. But just when it comes to intersectionality, the way that a reader gets a glimpse of what these intersections of identity, how it influences a child, I think it's an important way to, kind of bring the world into your, right in front of you, into the book. I think it's important to build empathy, something that we are desperately lacking in this world, especially here in America. And being able to get a sense of what it's like to be someone other than yourself
Mm.
is like so important. And you know, the concept about how people, especially half of the world, talks about things being woke or politically correct. Well, when it comes down to it, being woke or being politically correct is really just being um, polite,
Mm.
being kind, being empathetic. It's not. It really should not be a dirty word or a bad concept to be polite or sympathetic or empathetic toward another person. And I think these books uh, are a great vehicle for that. I mean, I look at myself. I didn't have a great, in terms of my family. If you've read my book, um, I didn't have the greatest role models in the house with regards to empathy. Um, and I learned a lot about empathy, not even from the nuns in my Catholic school, because, well, we could talk about that for a while, but it was through the books I read. Everything from, even Oliver Twist. Get a sense of what this poor orphan boy lived through the words of Charles Dickens. And, that was one of the first books I read as a kid. You have to remember in the late 60s, early 70s, there really weren't categories of middle grade or young adult. You just read what was out there.
Right.
And so, so those were the types of books that we had access to in our school or in our public library.
Mm.
So, yeah, these are great vehicles for hopefully steering our world and our country into a more empathetic, toward an empathetic path.
Which makes these book awards all the more important. So thank you so much for all the work that you do and for coming to talk with us about it today. To wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share about the awards?
Well, so I think the most important thing for folks to realize is that the book has to be submitted for us to consider the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly encourage people to go to the website. There are 4 links there: one for picture book, graphic novel, middle grade, and young adult. It's a relatively simple submission form, and I walk people through it, I think, pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to submit your book in order for it to be considered. So please submit before August 31st. I will be posting more as the months go by, as the weeks go by. And I will probably be reaching out directly to people who have not submitted because, even despite all this, there are a lot of people who aren't aware of the awards. And I have a limited reach on Instagram, and I'm primarily on Instagram, so I think a lot of people aren't aware of it because they're not on social media. But I'll find ways, either through the publisher or some other vehicle, to get a hold of these people.
And again, that's readyourworld.org/awards, or if you just go to readyourworld.org, there's a tab at the top for awards, or just go to the link in our bio and you can get it that way. We try to make it as easy as possible and doing our best to get the word out because they are so important. But as you said, you can't be considered unless you submit your book. So please do that.
Exactly.
Federico, it's so nice to talk to you. Thank you for talking with us today.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.